It doesn't use a lot of filament, but you still want it to look cool and hold some paint. Let's say you've got a K2 Plus, or you've got a Bambu or a build plate that's 256 by 256 by 256. You want something that you can print on small and large printers. So we did one for you. What we ended up doing is, we won't even get into getting a drink. What I ended up doing is I wanted to make a paint rack holder. Somebody mentioned it and said, hey, it'd be kind of cool if you could make a paint rack holder that would fit on a 256 cube build area that doesn't use a massive amount of filament, but still looks cool, got some rounded corners and so on and so forth. And I said, hey, that's a good idea. I recently did a paint holder, but it was real boxy, real authoritarian, just box, lid, boom, we did that. Those worked out really good. That was a multi-use bottle rack. So you could use the 200 millimeter, you could use the inks, the 17 millimeter, so big ones, small ones, and it turned out pretty good. Matter of fact, we'll go take a look at those. But those can be found on my Creality page, Creality Print or Cloud. Yeah, Cloud, go to the Cloud, you can find that there. I'll put a link in the description box down below after all of this stuff. So yeah, but I was chatting with somebody, they wanted, it's like, hey, can you make a cool looking one? And I was like, yeah, let me dig into this, because being the retired hobby tech guy that I am, I've got some time on my hands. So we're going to take a look at what I did in Tinkercad, and we'll see what the status is so far. So stick with me here. So this is the Tinkercad. Let me get this set up so y'all can see that. So this is Tinkercad, and what I ended up doing is basically trying to get an idea. First thing that I had to end up doing was getting the cylinder, the size of the paint. So I pulled out some calipers, took a look at that, and said, okay, this is the size hole that we want, or for the holder. And then we'll just kind of run through a little progression of what I ended up doing. So basically I ended up with a rectangle and just kind of did some gross measurements, and then I did a little thing like this. And if we zoom in on there, what you can end up seeing is we kind of chamfered, or kind of just used the little settings that you have on here to kind of round those edges out. So nothing real spectacular. And then what I ended up doing, if we take a look at this, I took a couple of these are all joined together, but basically I took a square and then I took a cylinder that would be the holes for our system. So in other words, you have this opening here, so as you're looking straight forward onto that, you'll be able to see the little identification on the paint, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So that's our Army War Painter. And you've got that little thing in the middle, it says matte black. So this square here that's cut out, you'll be able to read and be able to see the color. So in other words, it'll probably be kind of something like that. So you'll be able to read the color and see the color, and that's kind of a cool thing to be able to read and see. So we're going to take advantage of that. So with that, what I ended up doing is joining those two together. And well, the first thing I ended up doing is taking the cylinders, and then I spaced them apart, and I just copied all the way down. And then I did the squares, copy all the way down. And I ended up doing a fillet, as we can see here. So that way we can get kind of a rounded off corner here to make it kind of nicer than what it was before, instead of just kind of doing the block thing that we had back here. The other thing we ended up doing, if we take a look, is I did another fillet. Let's see if we can't, whoa, what are we doing? Craziness. So there's another fillet right there. And so what this would do is kind of round off this area here. And all this is just kind of, just winging it by the seat of my pants. I'm not doing anything crazy, but just wanted to kind of do something like that. And then, here's another look at it with just doing the fillet like that, as you can see there. And then the next step that I ended up doing is putting in the holes for this thing. So these are the holes that we can see right here. They're all grouped together. Now the distance between these, the center of this hole and the center of this hole is 40 millimeters. So this should work for the Scadus hole, the Scadus IKEA hole dimensions. So we can see over here how it's a distance between the center and the center is 40 millimeters. So my hoping, since I have a Scadus, is I put 40 millimeters between all of these holes, and that should work out pretty good. And then the other thing that I ended up doing, because we see on this top one here, it was all solid on the bottom. I said, well, we can save a little bit of filament, and what we'll end up doing, as you can see there, is we just put some holes in there, and that will give us a little bit less filament that we need to use on this, and then eventually that is what it is right there. So we've got the holes on there. Looks pretty good. You know, it's not too bad. I didn't want to fill at the bottom because I wanted to have a nice flat surface on there. Holes should print out, I don't know, we'll see how those go. They printed out pretty good on the multi-purpose shelf that I made. And yeah, that's what we got going on. So yeah, we'll see. We're printing up one of these right now as it is. And matter of fact, if we just pull this up right here, that is the exported product. So we're going to be printing this at 0.2 layer height, and that should be pretty good. Holes, again, they're a little bit bigger, just a tiny bit bigger than the Scadus. So from IKEA, that pegboard that you have, so that should come out pretty good. So if you want to use screws, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm not going to go ahead and go too deep into this and try to make the Scadus little plugs that other people have. I'm just do Tinkercad. So simple holes, that's what we got going on. So for that, when we did the slicing for this, what we end up seeing here in the top left, it'll take 2 hours and 9 minutes, 62.72 grams of filament, and at the cost that I got, it's like $1.25. So that's pretty good. When I started off, it ended up being real blocky, and I had way too much material. I have like a 5% infill with gyroid, and that was like $3 something. So I was able to cut this down to the point of where it was like $1.25. And again, it holds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 paints, 17 millimeter bottles. As a matter of fact, as I said, it is going through, and as it pulls up, it is actually printing as we speak. And that looks pretty good. We'll go take a look at that. So yeah, I think this is going to turn out pretty good. And again, it's something that was, somebody was asking about, and it was like, hey, why not try that? So yeah, let's go take a look and we'll see how this is faring. Welcome to the hobby room. The K2 Plus, Creality, and then we've got the Elegoo, what do we got over there? It's the Elegoo Saturn 3 Ultra, wash and cure station, all that, and then I've got my little paint station with my Scadus IKEA wall there. As a matter of fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is the previous version. And yeah, what I ended up doing is just getting some, I don't know, M3 or what size was, and put some washer on the back, and we're able to, have a variety of different sizes. We can do the 200 milliliter bottles. We can do the ink bottles, which I don't even know how much those are. How much are those? How many milliliters? 100 milliliters. So you can have the inks and stuff like that. And then even with the Vallejo that we have, these are what, 60s, I think? Yeah, 60 milliliters. So, you have a variety of paints that you can put. And you can even put the Army Painter paints on this. And you can save a little bit of room by kind of doing this. You can kind of stagger them so you can get even more You could probably fit one or two more in there. But the holes on these didn't exactly line up, so I'm gonna have to redo those a little bit. But yeah, that's just kind of a cool little thing. I thought that worked out really well. So yeah, we've got that. And again, this is gonna be our paint station. Got it vented outside with the oh so professional duct tape. But we want to take a look at how our print is doing. And there it is. That was turning out pretty good. Now the question is, will the holes line up with the scatus? That is going to be the thing that that's the thing. So I did my measurements, tried to do it as best as I could on Tinkercad. Again, I'm just a Barney basic Tinkercad guy, but that looks pretty good to me. Again, we've got about what, 17 minutes left. So that's not too bad, 93%. And it should be noted that I'm going at 125% speed. So we're cutting some time off. I do have the Micro Swiss Flowtech hot end on here. So which I found is that it definitely helps with the first layer. And yeah, it is really, really nice. That with the R3 graphite bed, definitely got a lot flatter surface. I need to do a little bit of sanding. I think we're at like 0.25, 26 or something like that as far as bed level and deviance. But this is turning out pretty good. Look at those holes on there. Those are coming out pretty good. No supports. And that was something else that I wanted. I wanted something that just had, put it in there, hit print, do that, and go. Verithus asks, what material are you printing? I'm printing with Creality Hyper PLA. So they're Hyper series, and yeah, the Hyper PLA Black, which I have in the CFS, and do the test run for this. All of this is Creality Hyper PLA. That one, the gray, is actually the one with the RFID, but it's nice to have the RFID. But the thing with that is I calibrated my filament, and I found that I had to go, 5 degrees hotter for the nozzle, and then 5 degrees hotter for the bed, and then the flow rate had to be adjusted a little bit, and yeah, so it doesn't really matter, I don't think. That's what works for me. I do dry my filament for about 4 or 5 hours before I use it, and humidity is a little high. Do you need anything to hold that down? Try upping the bed temp to 55. Yeah, that's basically what the bed temp is, at 55. And as you can see, the nozzle's 225, so not too bad. With that said, if I do have other things that I'm kind of nervous about, what I'll end up doing is just using the Creality glue stick, which works out pretty good for just like smaller parts and stuff like this. But for this, yeah, I just threw it on the plate and let it print. As you can see, I had some other stuff on there, but that is turning out good. That is turning out good. So we got about 14 minutes left. So again, yeah, kind of good. The other thing we're going to end up doing is I think we're going to get a new base cabinet instead of this table. So this table will go over here, and we'll put all this stuff in the storage room back there, and then we'll have a cabinet that is pretty nice. It has some shelves and some drawers, so I could take advantage. I could throw stuff underneath there. But moving this table over here will end up just be like an assembly table. And then it's about 130 centimeters, which is about the size of the table. And then I could even put two of them in here, but we'll just start with one. And since it's going to be more permanent, we can get rid of the desk, and the desk wobbles just a little bit, but not that that causes any problems with the prints. Look at that. We can see the holes on there. Those actually came out pretty good. Not bad. A little deformed. So maybe have to do supports. So maybe tree supports set on this for just, what is it, to the plate only. There's a really nice CFS desiccant holder that keeps humidity below 15% for me. Yeah, and I have desiccant in here. If you can see this thing right here, it kind of runs all across there, and all of that is full of desiccant. It's just been a while since I've put in new desiccant. Matter of fact, I've got a bunch of that here. So I use that orange desiccant stuff. Has gotten pretty humid. And as we can see up here, we're looking at, it's pretty warm in this room. There's no AC in this room. So yeah, it's a little warm, but I haven't noticed any problems. Dry out the filament, put it in there. It's probably time to go through. I have the same exact desiccant. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Great minds think alike. So, yeah, coming out pretty good. So, yeah, doing good stuff. Good stuff. Trying to beat the heat. If I can get all this going. So, with that, yeah, it ended up being a kind of a cool little project. I thought it was just going to be something quick and easy, but the more I got into it, I was like, well, hey, how can I round this out? Found some fillets, playing more with Tinkercad. I did one, and here's the funny part about it. I did one. It says I also got the little desiccant filled ones in the spools. Really helps the storage. Yeah, I've got some of those. I just haven't put them inside the CFS while those spools are in there, but I might have to take a look at that and see how that goes. Let's see, what do we got going on? It printed. It's done. Really? Really? Yes, it is done. So there it was, an hour and 53 minutes, which turned out pretty good. It was, again, I had it at 125% speed. So let's take a look-see and see how it goes. Oh, and since I got this R3 graphite bed, and with the micro Swiss, especially with the R3 bed, these little calibration things that print on the side, this one always had the ends curled up. Always. They were just kind of very crappy. But these have turned out, these are so much better. I don't know if we can see that, but it ends up, that's turned out much better. Let's see if we get this in a little. So there's that little calibration thing. Those are always cool. And then, dun dun dun. So yeah, the holes I made them a little bit. Oh, the question, do you print these calibration prints every time? Yeah. It just gives me a warm fuzzy, and printing from Creality print, I'm not sure why it does that, or if you have I just honestly haven't noticed. So now the question is, will this line up with the holes? So yeah, I made them a little bit oblong, and it looks like they all fit. So if you have a scatus, you would be able to use this with the scatus. So now, the question is, will this work? Because like I said, the very first one I ended up doing, let there be light. The first one I ended up doing, and I was just about to print it. Maybe I need to do some ironing on that top. I don't know. Crease top layers. Bottom looks okay. It's a little dirty. Where is that? Ding. Because on the very first iteration of this, I made the cylinder, the hole too small. And so I did all of that work, and then it ended up, I'm like, well, let me double check. And then I measured the hole in Tinkercad, and they were too small. So now, look at that. So we got a little bit of room there. Nice. You can see the color. Looks pretty good. Yeah. It's a setting on the printer itself. I usually print them. Oh, you're talking about the calibration. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think this turned out pretty good. So yeah, I got a little bit of debris and glue. That ends up, it's some old glue. Again, this was just kind of doing the print to see how well this turned out, but not bad. And it's Tinkercad. So you're gonna get the little imperfections and stuff. You know, the tops aren't gonna, like we see here, the tops aren't gonna be, you know, super crazy. But again, I was going at 125. Yeah, it does print pretty well. K2 does nice. So yeah, it turned out good. That is good. And then with multiple of these, you could set these on, you know, side by side, whatever it is. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then, you know, you could hang them, put them on the wall, have something a little bit better than the, you know, the laser cut, whatever. Those are still pretty nice though. But if you wanted to do something like this, I will post this. And I'll do, like I said, I'll post this on my, the whatchamacallit. What am I talking about? The dash fitting on and can fix some of that low poly stuff. Oh, okay, cool. So on Creality Cloud, I'm gonna do my check-in. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. So what I'll end up doing is once I get all of this, and I'll put the 3MF file on here, and so like previously I had that wall mounted paint rack, and there was that one there, so you can see. The holes don't line up with the scatus though, but I wasn't even thinking about that, to be honest with you. So yeah, it is what it is. It's just kind of like, you know, have a variety of different bottles. You even got the little, you even have the little Citadel paints, the 17 millimeter, some weird sizes all the way up from, you know, 200, 100, 60, whatever that is, 50. And yeah, so yeah, it turned out pretty good. So yeah, we'll have it on to the page later on after I get everything set, and I might end up taking a look at this. And those recommendations, I'll take a look at that to see if that can clean up that little top area there, because that definitely needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Maybe it needs another top layer, I think, of whatever it is. But other than that, and of course, this little edge here, it's so-so. but that's just because it's Tinkercad. Like I said, I'm not a real big, so I just wanted to have something a little bit round enough. Maybe I should have just filleted those as well. So maybe I'll do a little bit of adjustment and we'll do more of a fillet on the top. How many top layers do I have? That's a good question. That is a good question. Let's see. Let's go back, preview. Layer height is 0.2. Let's see. Top surface, seam, gap, precision, wall generator, blah, 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 arachne. Let's see, wall loops 2, top surface pattern, top shell layers 4, top shell thickness 0.8. So I just left everything stock. It's under shell. Okay. Strength, quality, speed, sport, filament. Okay. Seam, precision, ironing, wall generator, bridging, overhang. Okay. If you haven't guessed, I have no idea where shell is. Okay, top shell layers. So it ends up being 4. There it is. Okay, so we've got the monotropic. I wonder if, again, all of this is just stock settings on here. So top shell layers are 4. So yeah, any recommendations on that to clean up the look on the top of that, especially on this, on those areas there, would be appreciated. Ferrithus being the man that he is. But overall though, I think it turned out pretty good. You know, we got some curved edges on there. Kind of light. I used 5% infill with gyroid, so I didn't want to go crazy with it. And again, it's just as you're just holding 17 milliliter bottles. So what really fixed that for me were 2 settings: infill and wall overlap percentage, guarantee vertical thickness. Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that. So top shell layers 4, top shell thickness. The number of top solid layers is increased when slicing of the thickness calculated by the time. Okay, I don't know. Can give you my settings for PLA in a sec if you want. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'll definitely. Bottom shell layers 3. Everything else is fine. It's just that top. Yeah, that top one. And again, the gyroid 5%. Nothing huge. You could probably even go down to 2.5. Because again, it's just holding those little 17 milliliter bottles. First layer sit at 60. Everything else was 100%, and then I just upped it to 125. And I could do enable support with just some tree default and support critical regions only. Let's see if that does anything. Nope. So let's change that back, and only on the build plate. So we should be able to get a couple of trees in there. So maybe that would help. Yeah, maybe that would help. Keep that round circle in there. Of course, I'd have to change I think I'd have to change support raft. Of course, we'd have to put that black as well. So yeah, so I think that could work out. So, and then the top Z distance is set at, usually I set 0.24, 0.26, but this is 0.2, so I'd probably just leave it stock and see how that goes. But again, I'm not too worried about that. Top bottom solid infill wall overlap should be 25%. Okay. Top bottom solid infill, yep, as 25%. So that we got there. So yeah, that's what we got on that. But again, it's Tinkercad. So some people have told me that Tinkercad is like, it's like the dollar store of CAD stuff. So, and I'm not a CAD person, so really simple for me. But yeah, be able to clean that up would be a little bit nicer. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Figured I'd do a video. I didn't know I was going to finish this quick, so that's kind of nice. And if anybody is wondering, it ends up being 260 millimeters, 260. Still trying to get used to metric. In freedom units, it's 10 1/4 inches by almost, let's see, 35 is there, and then the height is like 39. I think it came out to 39 or 40, so it looks like it's 39 and a half. So yeah, nice little rig there to hold the paints, and hopefully somebody will get some use out of it. But that top layer, it does seem a little, you can see some of that. There you go. So, infill wall overlap, I have it 60, which up from stock. Infill wall overlap. Let me see if I can find that. That's walls, wall loops. I've got top, bottom, solid, infill wall overlap. That's what you're talking about? That was set at 25%. You're saying it was 60. Let me pull up. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll pull up the feed and I'll go back so I can read your comment. Smart. Let's see. Will it come up? I think, yeah, we've done this before. I'll just have to, I guess I can play it. I just don't negate that. So infill wall overlap, I have a 60%, which I upped from stock. That is the other setting that affects the top layers. Top bottom solid. Top bottom solid infill wall overlap. Top bottom solid infill wall overlap. It should be at 25, which it is. And then you say infill wall overlap, I have it 60. So let's find the infill wall overlap. Oh, okay. The default on mine is 15%, and you've got it set to 60, if I'm not mistaken. Infill wall overlap, I have it 60%, which I upped from stock. That is the other setting that affects the top layers. So yeah, I've got that. The stock is 15, as we can see there, and you have it set to 60. Seriously. So that right there, you've got it set to 60. I can print another one of these out, see what happens. Let's slice this up and see how that goes. And let's go back. So that's what it looks like there. That looks good. Let's go back to stock at the 15 and see what it looks like. What I think causes the problem is that the solid infill is not adhering to the walls correctly and pulls away, creating those holes. Yeah, that might be it too. thought we might see something on the, but we just have to print that out and see what happens. So, yeah. What I think causes your problem is that the solid infill is not adhering to the walls correctly and pulls away, creating those holes. Yeah, which is weird because on other prints that I've done, after I calibrated that stuff, is I haven't had stuff like that. So like when I did the Benchy, after I did prints with, after the R3 was installed, I did, which turned out fine, I didn't have any problems, did a Benchy with that and the new Micro Swiss head on there, so that ended up doing good. And this is with the R3 graphite bed, and then also the Micro Swiss, which I had to do a little bit of tweaking on. But the only time I've seen stuff like this is some of the other stuff that I've done on Tinkercad. So let's see if I can find. So some of these, it's like some of these prints you can get, I don't know how well you can see it, but you do get some little freaky stuff on there. But that wasn't too bad. That one's good. So yeah, it's just kind of a weird thing. I was trying to think, I had another example of some stuff that I printed, but that had kind of that same thing, that same problem. But why would the solid infill not adhere to the walls correctly? Interesting. You know, I'm all game for, we could print out this again with that infill wall overlap at 60. We could go ahead and do that. And then, let's see, what else do we got? Monotonic. We got another comment. Smaller top surfaces created that problem for me. Even on my benches, the top surface didn't connect to the walls correctly. That's why I increased the overlap. Huh, interesting. Yeah, on the benches or other stuff, it prints out perfect. The Benchy came out super, super nice and didn't have any problems whatsoever. So, and I didn't even change the settings as far as calibrating with the new Micro Swiss. What I did notice though is that the Micro Swiss heats up, the hot end nozzle heats up way quicker than the stock one does. So, I mean, that will improve speed a little bit. Matter of fact, I got the bench. Let me go, I'll be right back. Well, shoot, let's just take you with. Come with. Come with, come hither. Hither, hither, hither. And boom, there it is. So there is the Benchy. And yeah, I know. So there is the bench. Oh, you see that? A little tiny bit there. I made a liar out of myself. And there's a little bit there too. Ah, interesting. So a little interesting, huh? But everything else turned out pretty good. Same problem. Yep, you're right. You are right. Yeah. And this was the original Benchy, which the very first Benchy, we don't see, well, we even get a little bit there. Do we? Ah, very tiny bit, especially right in that crack there. And even up on that top. Oh, we do see some of that there. Huh, interesting. Interesting. Things to ponder. So maybe it's not the Tinkercad. Upon inspection of the same problem. Top surfaces didn't connect to walls, and that's why I increased the overlap. So the overlap. So the infill overlap. You know what we could end up doing? We could just do I really want to do another? Let's do, I could just do another bed, and I could just put in a benchy. And we can just print out the benchy, and if we slice that with the infill wall overlap that you were talking about, instead of 15, set that to 60, and we'll slice this baby up. And I should probably take off these supports. So yeah, we can do that. And that'll take us 20 cents for a benchy. It'll take 32 minutes. I'm wondering if I could crank that out at 125%. So yeah, we could just do another benchy, and then that could give us the answer, especially for that, what you were talking about over here. That infill wall overlap, which is that thing there. I slightly to overlap the wall for better bonding. The percentage value is relative to the line width of sparse infill. Set this value to 10 to 15% to minimize potential over extrusion and accumulation of filament. Really? Wow, and you set it to 60. Really? 60, that much? It's 20 cents for a benchy. So let's just go ahead and we'll send it. I got everything set there. Got the right filament, 0.2, blah, 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 blah. And we will send it, and off it goes. And we should be good. So we will find out. If this works, you're the man. You will have won the internet for me today. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, good stuff. Let's see. What also helped is setting the guaranteed vertical shell thickness. I set that to all. You can always just print a benchy for 12 grams. Guaranteed vertical shell thickness. Set that to all. Vertical shell thickness? Okay. Vertical shell thickness. Vertical shell thickness. Ensure vertical shell thickness. And you said set that to all. Yeah, that's set to all. So there's none, critical only, moderate, all. Yeah, default is all. So yeah, good thing. Good thing that is set to all. Because this is already on the way to the printer. And in however many minutes it was, about 32 minutes, we will have our benchy and we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, there it is. We ended up doing that. That's kind of cool. So that'll be interesting. So we can compare the two benchies. At least one will be gray, one will be black. So it'd be kind of fair, but at least we can see if we have those holes in there. But I'm surprised, since the default was like, it said 10 to 15% on that infill wall overlap, and we got those holes. Enlarge slightly to overlap with the wall for better bonding. 60. We'll see how that goes. Inquiring minds. Maybe we'll do another video. All right. K2, don't make a liar out of me. Ferrithus is a little nervous. He's like, uh-oh. We're gonna see. We're gonna see if it comes out. If it doesn't, you're in trouble. We take away your star for the day. But if it works out, then you are the man. You are the man. You have won the internet for me today. So in 32 minutes and whatever, I was going through the calibration thing again. Yeah, I don't know where that every time I print from the computer, from Creality Print, it'll do the calibration, then it'll do the print. And I'm not sure why. But if I take the file and I upload it, if I take it and put it on a USB, or I just send it to the printer and then I print it from the display on the printer itself, then it has the option to do calibration or not. As far as Creality Print, it doesn't have that option, at least that I've seen. Because Lord knows I've been stupid from time to time and don't see things that are right in front of me. Versus says the 60% is just for the lower top shell layers, so a tiny bit over extrusion doesn't matter there. Okay, we'll find out. We will find out. Yes, we will. I don't know if you just hang around for 30 minutes and see what happens. And I don't mind the calibration, waiting for the calibration, because that isn't too bad. I mean, I'd rather see the calibration and make sure that everything's doing good. And let's see, it says on the printer itself, you need to go to the settings on the screen. You can remove the check mark for flow and pressure advanced steps. Then calibration is just leveling. Oh, okay. Interesting. Remove the check mark for flow and pressure advanced steps. And then the calibration is just leveling. Okay, so in other words, it just comes up, levels the bed, and then just runs with it. I kind of like the calibration. I guess I'm still new to 3D printing, so I don't have that warm fuzzy yet. And I want to say the previous version, or an other previous version of Creality Print, you had the option of, on the software, of clicking calibration or not. I think it had that on there. But they made some changes to it with the new one. Also like the new mapping that they have for, like when you show your printer to, yeah, that up there, and you get your little LAN thing to connect it up, and then when you go over to your filament and you hit map your filament, that works really well. I like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. The measured pressure advance. The measured pressure advance, you can then enter into the material setting in Creality Print, so it automatically applies that to every print. Really? That would be interesting, because if the... So you're saying you could set that for, so for example, I normally print in PLA, so I could set the pressure advance and be one and done and not have to worry about it anymore for the pressure advance. But if I do another one, let's say I do ABS or some, PETG or whatever, I could also set the pressure advance for that. In other words, that would have its own setting, and then that would be one and done. So whenever I choose whatever filament I use, then I'd be good, I'm assuming. I'm assuming. Let me see, what do we got on the filament? I think while it's printing, I won't be able to change that. Correct. I print one bench for pressure advance and flow calibration every material I have once, and I save those values in Creality Print. Oh, okay. So is that in the, that's in the filament settings? So when you edit your filament, like your, of course, now that I'm printing, it's not going to allow me to change any settings on that. But when you go to that top right corner and you can select your filament, you can set your nozzle temperature, bed temperature, flow rate, all of that stuff. So you're talking about, you can set the pressure advance in that area, I'm assuming. And then it's just a drop down. Yeah, okay. Interesting, interesting. So once I run one calibration, then that should already be set, or is that a separate setting that I have to read the calibration and then set it, save it, and boom, and then I'll be done? So many questions. You're working with somebody that got a few brain cells that have been gone. I'm old, so. But yeah, cool, good stuff. That's the other thing no in Creality Print itself in the preview tab where you have your material, you can click on the material and see all the settings for it. Okay, let's see here. Let me take a look at this. Move some stuff around. So, Ferrithus is my teacher. And I wish my desk was a little bit deeper. So we got the printer up here. We got the G-code preview, which is there. And filament, maritime speed, acceleration, flow. No, that's just for that. And what was it? Creality Print preview tab. We're in the preview tab. And it's now, that's the printer. So we got the printer, we don't need that. Click on the materials. Sorry, not preview, prepare tab, okay. You could have had me looking for days. It would have been days. So we're talking about this up here. Click to edit preset. Support bed, Z offset. Oh, okay, so you can set the Z offset. That's good to know. Nozzle volume, print height, top right where your materials are. Okay, boom, close that. So on the top right, nope, that's for that. So it's talking about clicking on here and then doing your edit. It won't let me edit while it's printing, but I'm assuming that's where you want. Is that you'd have to go to the little pen over here and click that into where you can enter in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, the pen icon, yep. Yeah, it won't let me do it while it's printing. So even if it's not a material that I'm using. So I'll just have to wait. Just have to wait. Just gotta wait, see what happens. But that's good to know. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That is cool. That, strange, I'm printing right now and I have full control. I have, really? Do you have a Mac? I'm printing off a Mac, and there are some things that I've seemed to have problems with. Like when you're on the Prepare tab, and if you like, usually with most software, CAD and other things like that, if you left click and drag, you can open up a box and you can select everything that way. Yeah, that's probably why. For some reason, I've got a Mac, and the left click and drag doesn't work. And the other thing that I've noticed with Creality Print anyway, I don't know about other ones, but that if you have a model and you import the model and it says that there's too many polygons or non-conforming, whatever, whoosy-whatsy things, that it'll say fix model. But there is no fixed model on Mac. It is only available on Windows. So yeah, maybe that's part of the problem there with that. It's just, yeah, you're printing, you're printing. I guess I could always try to close it and try to reopen it because it's already printing. And the code's already sent. And just restart it. But yeah, it always seems that there's something. Yeah, interesting. Not the greatest software support for Mac then. Yeah, and I've sent Creality a message on that. They usually load the preset material settings and then modify them. There's a few very nice settings in there that massively improve the print quality. Really? Okay. I am all for improving print quality. You know, and that's the other thing. It's interesting because like with Bambu, it seems like all of their settings from some people that I know that have Bambus, some people have had problems. There are always problems with 3D printers. But the one guy that I know, he was talking about, and he says, yeah, it's great. It's just everything's already set. It's like Bambu took the time to really nail down everything in regards to settings. And so it's one and done, and you just run and go. So that's kind of cool. I really appreciate that. I think Creality needs to go and kind of step up their customer service game, but they also need to step up their game for settings. And another email I sent them talking about, of course, getting up to speed with the Mac, but also for leveling out the K2 Plus. Whether you got the stock bed or the R3 bed, there's a couple of macros that you could end up doing that can help you level the bed like old school, you know, nozzle, put the piece of paper down there and then adjust the knob underneath in the four corners so you can get as flat as possible. There's also this screw tilt adjustment macro, which I tried loading that up and it doesn't work. And I'm wondering if it's a Mac issue, or I wouldn't think it would be, but I'm just not knowledgeable enough on Fluid. But whenever I load that macro into Fluid to do that, and the screw tilt adjustment, the cool thing about that is there was a French video where a guy had done that. Of course, he has Windows, and then he had another software or two that he had to use, and then he imported the file into Fluid, and I'm not sure why he needed those two other programs. He never really gave an example or explained that well. But I tried just putting the file in and importing that new macro, and it doesn't work. So there's something under the hood that isn't working with that. But with that screw tilt adjustment, I sent that to Creality. I said, hey, if you can get this thing working, or the other leveling macros included, you would have a much happier customer base for sure, because you know, that seems to be a lot of the problems. You know, besides the rough handling during shipping. But if they could do that and fix the problems with the Mac, I think a lot of people would be very, very happy with that. Creality, Ferrithus says, Creality is definitely as amazing out of the box. You have the full control, which you don't have with Bambu. That's true, yeah. I've edited the Fluid stock macros and add in a Z offset, which by default is set to 0 for some reason. And I've changed the calibration of X and Y axes for the dimensional printing. Yeah. My first layer with the stock bed, and even trying to level that out as best I could with that, the first layers were rough, and I had to adjust the Z offset. And I think it was like 0.4, 0.04, I think it was. I think I've got it written down. but I've always adjusted that on the fly. What was it? Yeah, 0.04 to 0.06. So I even have it written on the printer. Dang. in the arrow button. Push arrow down. My first layer was always scraping because it was always 0, set to 0.1, and it's amazing now. Yeah, and I would get those wavy, those little waves in there, and the same thing, it was like that first layer was rough, but after that first layer, the layers on top of that, then everything was great. I would still get the same, the same type of, that I would get on all of these, but yeah, that's when I started seeing that Z, the Z distance, and setting that up about what 0.4 or whatever. Things came out and worked a lot better. So yeah, waves means the nozzle is too close to the bed. Yeah, but it's good to know that now I can go under the prepare and I can go under the. You know what I'm going to do? Okay, so it's printing. It's going to be about 32 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and close Creality Print. And now I don't want to save it because I could care less. And now it says Arachne class info won't overlap. So it's asking me if I want to keep all these things. Nail sport, build plate only. Okay. Yeah, save. So we'll close that. And we'll shut down Creality Print. See, they need to work on the Mac stuff. Let me show you. So even though it closed out, it doesn't like quit. I've always had to come through and have to force quit to get that to quit. And then it's always report. Yeah, so, and then it will quit. Yeah, okay, whatever. And it will reopen. Yeah, I know, it's strange. It seriously made me consider getting Windows again, but so on this, let me see if I can move stuff around. So what you were talking about before was coming up to, let's just take this one, and you go to the pen icon, and dun 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 dun. And so we have nozzle, default color, flow ratio, pressure advance. So the pressure advance is right there. So that's based on the last calibration, I'm assuming. So I shouldn't have to deal with that anymore. Density, shrinkage, price, blah, 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 money per kilogram. Nozzle temperature, yeah, chamber, whatever. Yeah, 225 seems to be a good setting for the nozzle temp. 55 for the bed, plate, blah, blah, blah. Volumetric pressure is 23, which, let's see, cooling, that should just be fans and stuff like that. Speed, fan, blah, blah, blah. Settings override. So the pressure advance is typically deactivated. If that check mark is there, it overrides what your pressure advance calibration steps. So pressure advance, enable pressure advance. So if the yield pressure auto calibration result will be overwritten once edited printer name, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's what it is right there. So you just set the pressure advance, but I'm getting good pressure advance as it is. So basically, if I uncheck that, it'll just keep that, is basically what you're saying. So then do a pressure advance calibration once this is deactivated, then copy the measured value from the fluid dashboard and put it into this and put that there. So I'd have to go back here, put the new setting after I've done that pressure advance test that I got from fluid, the result, put that in there, and then uncheck that, and it'll keep that value in there. Okay, I see what you're saying. Gotcha. Alrighty. Learning so much good stuff. Gotcha. Setting overrides. Length, you have PLA for yours is 0.04. Oh, okay. Pressure advance 0. And do you have the micro Swiss hot end on there on yours? I'm wondering about that. Or are you still running the stock head with yours? That would be, because I just put in that. That's the stock hot end, yeah. So I'll have to do that pressure advance. Let me write that down. Things to do. PA calibration. Fluid. PLA edit. Alrighty. So that'll be another thing on the list of things to do. Yeah, the micro Swiss, I didn't need it. Ferrith says, another useful setting is under cooling. Don't slow down outer walls. Usually leads to cleaner prints, especially with shiny filaments. Really? Cooling? Don't slow down outer walls. Don't slow down outer walls. Yeah, that's not checked. So you're saying check that. There's a little explanation thing there. Does that pop up with something? No, it doesn't, really. Huh. Interesting. We'll just go ahead and click that, and we'll have to do that. Yes, when it slows down outer walls, then shiny filaments become more shiny, and there the walls printed faster. It's more matte. You have get different sheens across your prints. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I haven't even gone into that at all. I printed with just the matte. I haven't done any shiny filaments or multicolor filaments or multi-changing filaments or whatever. Haven't done any of that. And this is the white that I'm doing it on. So we'll just save that. Interesting stuff. Where the wall is printed. Hyper PLA already is shiny enough to see this usually, especially dark filaments. Okay. Let's see, settings override. Direction, I'm not gonna mess with any of that. Filament, white tower, tool change, blah. Don't need to worry about that. Notes, Let me add that to a note. And okay, cool, cool. Back to my notes. I like the note feature. I think that's good. So, once you change the presets, I always save them as save as. That creates a user preset. Practically your own material. Yeah, because you have the system presets down below, and then when I started calibrating the PLA, like doing the flow rate and some of the other stuff, made those adjustments, and I made the user preset ones for the Hyper PLA. So, yeah, saving is good, backup is good. So interesting. Good stuff, as always. Let's see, what do we got? How much time do we got left? Have presets of over 15 materials at this point. It's mostly just click and print. Yeah, that's the good thing about it. Like when I did the calibration for the PLA, some other people recommended that, use the recommended settings. It's like, but yeah, being able to save that and have your own user presets, and then if you want to test something out, you can save as and just do another copy or a test profile basically and see if it works. If it doesn't, then you're not out anything. So that's kind of a good thing. But yeah, that first layer thing is something. What was it? The Z height for the nozzle height, top Z distance. Is that in the filament or is that in basic information? Flow, pressure, density, price. Volumetric, speed. Pressure advance. Z offset. Never use the setting in Creality print directly. I've edited directly into the start print macro in fluid. Oh, okay. Ferretus is the man. All hail Ferretus. Cool. Yeah, because there doesn't seem to be a top Z distance on here as I'm looking through, so, which seems odd. Maybe that's set in the printer itself. Let me see. Look at that. So we go to the top left where your printer's at. You can hit that little pen icon. All hail the YouTube tutorial I found for this. Awesome. See, you didn't even have to say that. You could have just left it, and I would have thought you were some amazing guy. I mean, you're still an amazing guy, but you found the video and you're using it. But giving credit where credit is due. So you just went up in my integrity level. So yeah. Let's see. Printable space, advanced, clipper. Cooling fan, extruder, radius, blah, 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 bed mesh, blah, 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 hardened steel, blah, blah. Undefined, okay, brass, blah. Let's see, machine code. Oh, you could do the, yes, the printer settings do have the Z offset setting, just never used it. It's still set to 0 on their end. Okay. For layer change, blah. Let's see, what do we got here under G code? Machine start G code. No support extruder, blah. Imprint, blah. I don't know enough about G code, but change I knew there was ways that you could do it, but again, it's just one of those things that I think any 3D printing company needs to have these things, or at least have videos on how to do these things to make people smart and for them to get good prints. And the more customer service you have in helping the people do this stuff, they'll be a fan for life. Let's see, white top, no, extruder, nozzle diameter, height limits. Oh, I didn't know the minimum layer height for the stock on this on Creality Print says it's 0.08 millimeters, max to 0.32 millimeters. Okay, cool. The lowest I've gone is 0.16. That's usually what I print all my figures and models. But it can go down to 0.8. That's good to know. Let's see, what do we have? Retraction, Z-Hop Auto. I don't want to mess with that. If only Z-Hop about now. Motionability. Speed limitations for X, Y, Z. Okay, no, that's not it. Notes, nope. Yeah, I don't see anything on that for Z offset. That's what it is, the Z offset. So it does have a Z offset. So basically where I found this was up here in this top right, or correction, top left, and you edit the preset. And the Z offset is set to 0. So you could set that there as well. Okay, that's good to know. This value will be added or subtracted from the Z coordinates in the G code. It is used to compensate for bad Z end stop position. For example, if your end stop 0 actually leaves the nozzle 0.3 far from the print bed, set this to, So yeah, that's kind of interesting. And that's the other thing, is that it would be nice to have, I don't know, it just takes more time. Found the video where I used it back then. They'll send it to you in your email. Sure, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Definitely interested. Anything to make me smarter is good. But then you could also change this on these system presets, and you could make changes to like the Z offset and whatever else that it has in here. And you could save that as a machine preset. So that's good to know. So save as, reset. Okay. My thing is be like, yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I would really appreciate that. Let's see. What is my, how much time we got left? Got about 14 minutes left. And now the question is, 192. Let's see if that's it. And we have fluid. Yes, we have fluid. So fluid, I just end up basically, the only thing I've done with fluid is just check the bed mesh, and I got like 0.2480. That's the best that I can get with the bed mesh right now. So I'm gonna have to pull out that sanding block, and yeah. So I have to pull out the sanding block and kind of hit those areas right there, which is a lot better than my previous one. Holy crow. So, boom. And I just got an email. I'm assuming that was you. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, there it is. Yep. Yes, have the video. Awesome. Creality K2 Plus setting Z offset. You are the man. You still won the internet for today. Still won the internet. Put a gold star by your name. Let's see what else. You know, it's another weird thing. I'm just going through. I just got another email. Another opportunity. I hope that quick release resin vat from China. So they got this quick release vat, and I get offers to make videos and stuff like this, and I'm like, for the good stuff. I get a lot of cheap Chinese companies that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. But like, I just got another email. The first email I got from this company says, hey, are you interested in changing out the FEP on the Saturn III Ultra in like 30 seconds? If you know anything about resin printing, you know there's like a gazillion nuts and screws to hold in that FEP, and it's really time consuming. So they came up with this HOPAT, quick release resin vat system. It's 30 seconds and you're done. So they sent me an email back in March saying, hey, would you like to review this? And I was like, sent them back an email and said, absolutely, here's my address. If it's quick as you say it is, I'll do an unboxing video review. I do honest reviews, so if things go well, I let people know. If not, I let them know, and they're like, fine. And then now it is what, 24 July? So March, April, May, June, July. 5 months later, I just got this email 4 hours ago. It says, we want to follow up and see if you're interested in testing. We'd love to work with you on this, support your upcoming content. Also, would it be convenient for you to receive the sample at your Korean address? Let us know which one works for you. Yeah. And I sent them a follow-up email back January, February, March, April, May, June. I sent a follow-up email in June 23rd. It's like, hey, yeah, I'm still interested, blah, blah, blah. Here's my addresses or whatever. If you need anything else, send me an email. And yeah, I don't understand with these companies. It's like, and I've had a number of companies. I know this is off topic from the 3D printing stuff, but it's weird because I've had companies contact me and say, hey, would you like to do a review? And I'm like, sure, I would love to do a review. I do honest reviews. I don't take money for reviews. I get to say what I want to say. And yeah, but here's the thing. I get regular emails, but it's like they never respond back. And I'll shoot them another email and say, hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Like recently I got monetized, and so, that's kind of a thing. And so, I'll update them. And it's weird because some of these companies will send out an email to YouTubers to review their products. And then you send them an email and say, hey, yeah, I would love to do that. Here's my email address. Here's my physical address, so on and so forth. And then a lot of times I'll come back, or they'll come back and they'll say, well, we need to check and see if we can do this. And it's like, well, why did you contact me to begin with if you didn't know you could do that? Or if, it's just kind of a weird thing. I'm not sure why it is like that. It's like, yeah, do you want to review this? It seems like an awesome job. It's a great product, blah, blah, blah. They blow up their stuff, a lot of hype. And, it's like, hey, we'll give you a free copy and you can say whatever you want, make one video. Usually they just say one video. But if I like the product or, something that's more involved, I'll do more videos, obviously, kind of like the laser engraver one. But the companies come back and they'll say, yeah, well, we'll keep you in mind, or yeah, we need to check and see if we can do that. It's like, well, you said you're going to do that, and now you don't know if you can. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll keep the fingers crossed. And I don't know if it has something to do with me living in Korea. They probably reach out to a lot of people and a pool of potential reviewers. Yeah. Yeah, that could be it too. Could be that as well. But it's just weird. A lot of the Chinese companies do that. It's just really, really.
Here we go. Quick little video for you guys.
That's the video that you just sent me, so I'm going to be checking that out. But yeah, it's just really weird. They create a pool of potential reviewers and then get a budget for a small number that they hand pick from that pool. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I wish they would let people know about that instead of just kind of like ghosting them and you never hear from them back. Or I'll even send them a follow-up email a month later, 2 weeks later, or something like that, and say, hey. But yeah, it is what it is. Parenthesis. But your name is out there. That's a good start. Yes, the foot is in the door, so we'll see how that goes. So. But I will say there are a ton of products that I get approached to do of people that say, we will pay you to do a video for this product. It has to be a good review, and they have all these rules and stuff like this. And it's like, no, that's not how reviewing works. You send me the product, even if I got to send it back. You send me the product. Most of them will just send it, but it's like, no, they expect a good review, and it's like, no, I do honest reviews. If it doesn't work and doesn't live up to the advertised claims, that's called a review for whatever reason, And for example, there was a company that sent me a product, and I ended up doing a review. It worked out pretty good. It was a really good product. It was for resin printing, and the price wasn't too bad. It definitely is a niche product for resin printing. There's a couple of suggestions that I made to make it better, to help facilitate in cleaning and stuff like that, because it was in contact with resin. But yeah, it just ends up, it's just weird. So, and even though I did a review on that product, sent it to them because I said, hey, let's review this, take a look at it. Here's some of the suggestions that I have to make a better version of this product, to help with cleaning and this and that and whatever. Not like retooling everything, something they could probably easily do. And it ends up, they're like, yeah, it sounds good, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, boom, never heard from them again. And so I contacted them. I said, hey, I still got the video. I haven't published it yet because I want to, let them see it. And they were happy with it, but they said, yeah, we got to hold off on this for a while. So I don't know. I don't know if they're taking my suggestions. Maybe they have other people that are doing, before release reviews of it, and they're gonna, go to town on those suggestions and implement those things. I don't know, but yeah, it's just odd. And then I get the weird Chinese companies. Oh, well, you reviewed this dog walker, whatever thing, collar, blah blah blah, solar, LED light, and it's like, yeah, I don't have a dog, I can't help you. Or women's products, oh, we see that you do videos, and we really want to collaborate with you, and it's a bunch of makeup women's stuff, and it's like, I'm sorry, I don't wear makeup, or items I would never use in a million years. Yeah, marketing strategy, nobody gets them. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, I mean, at least it's out there. And what I'll usually end up doing is I'll reply back and say, hey, I really appreciate that. Just not something that's good for me and my channel. It's just like they're just throwing out, they're fishing. They're trying to get somebody to review their products. But I'll always go back and I'll end up saying, hey, if you have 3D printing stuff, if you have consumer electronics, audio visual equipment, action cameras, hobby stuff, I would definitely do that. Audio, video, stream deck type of stuff. That would be where I could fill in and do that stuff. So we got about 3 minutes and 12 seconds left on the benchy. So we're gonna see if the video and the settings on that infill wall overlay, whatever thing, whatever that thing was, and we'll see if that is the bomb. So what was that? It was 60? Yeah, it was set to 60. And that was, and then oh yeah, because it was set to 15, 10 to 15, and then Ferrithus recommended 60. So we're getting down to the wire. I still have 7.5 hours on mine, and I'm running out of the first roll of filament in a bit. Oh. Yeah, infill wall overlap from 15 to 60. We'll see how it goes. I've got about, how many total hours? Last time I checked was, I think, a couple days ago. I've got about 651 point something hours on the K2 Plus. So, but overall, it's been great. I mean, yeah, I didn't need to get the R3 bed. I didn't need to get the micro Swiss. I just upgraded it because I can. But the interesting thing is some Facebook groups, I actually got back on Facebook. I have a different profile. Let's just leave it at that. But it's funny how you have these purists that are like, oh, we're only going to use the stock K2 Plus. We're never going to change our bed. We're never going to change the hot end. We're never going to upgrade any, because there's no need. Why would you ever do that? You know, you can level your bed stock. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can buy a car that has a stock stereo, but there's a lot of people that will upgrade their stereos in their cars. So, you know, what's the big deal with that? Yeah, I don't need to, but I want to, and so I did. We got a little bit of time. Got about 40 seconds left. Are you nervous, therapist? Are you nervous? Will he be nervous? I don't know. We will see. See if we can fix the little problems that we had on there. So close. Almost done. 99% done. Graphite bed is waiting for install this weekend. He's doubling down, folks. Dun-dun-dun-dun. The moment of truth. It is done. Get all the little calibration doohickeys off of there. Therapist is a little nervous. I can tell. Little beads of sweat. 10 grams. So now you've been banned from this channel. It looks like I should have done it in gray, but it does look like that came out pretty nice. Not bad, a little bit of a, but those holes that were there, we can see, we have a down benchy. Let's see if we can get this. Yeah, I think it looked like it worked. Let's get this where we get some light. So yeah, clean that up a bit. Yeah. Seriously. 2 drops. So, compared to the other one, yeah. Yep, I think it did. Let me see if I can set my light so it's a little bit. Yep, it definitely looks better, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. Alrighty. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Looks pretty good. Yes, you are the man. Dun, dun, dun. Gold star from Mr. Therapist. Awesome. There it is in all its glory. Yeah, clean up right along there. Now it's got me wondering how, a tiny little bit there, but that is significantly better. Thank you very much. Awesome. Cool. That is good to know. That's good to know. You are the man. And it says, and this you can also see the sheen change where it changed the speed on the outer wall. I see. Yes. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Tiny, tiny, insignificant little bit of stringing. Stringing, not bad. Next to nothing. So yeah, that is it. Dun, dun. Yeah, it came out really good. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'll have to put that up on the other benchy. I wonder. Interesting. There we go. Alrighty. That'll be, on this you can also see the scene change where it changed the speed of the outer wall. That'll be fixed by changing that don't slow outer wall setting in the filament setting. So we go back to that. It is so odd. So even though I'm not printing and it's done, it won't allow me to change that setting. So I gotta close it out and restart. Seriously, Creality, you're killing me. Close down, restart. So much fun. Now, can we adjust that? Yes, we can. That was under cooling. So, by changing that don't slow outer wall setting in the filament setting. So I had that checked. So you're saying uncheck that? Oh, that was the white. I did the black. Sorry. Never mind. Yeah, of course I didn't put it in the black. So we'll set that. Could just run another benchy. That is good to know. Cool. Alrighty. Or we just print a benchy and white. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, learned some good stuff from Mr. Therapist today. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So, anyway, that's what we got going on. So we did a number of things. We printed out our little paint rack thing, which now makes me wonder if I should print out another one of these and see how that'll turn out. Tempting. I don't know. We'll see. Because that would help. But other than that, accomplished the big thing there. That's the problem with full control. You can always find stuff to optimize. That's true. Yeah, it's not the microwavable setting of Bambu, but it's just amazing on what Bambu has been able to do and to bring 3D printing to the masses. I just wish they didn't lock down their system. That just kind of bugged me when they did that. And I totally get it. You know, intellectual property, the whoosies and the whatsies and all that stuff. But then the whole thing with Bambu is saying, oh, you know, in our log files, we'll never transmit this, or this that a bunch of people were wondering about. And then it actually ended up that they lied and they actually were sending all the information that they said they weren't sending to their servers and to their company. And yeah, it just crazy stuff. So thank you, 3D Musketeers. You can also save prints like this. Plastic wood filler works wonders. Just needs some spray paint after. Yeah. And you notice the Hulk in the background. He's kind of that gray color. What I ended up using on him was, I didn't do any sanding. He's printed at 0.16 millimeters. But then what I ended up doing is use that automotive filler sanding paint. So that really kind of filled in a lot of stuff there. So that works pretty good too. But I've heard about that, the wood filler, plastic wood filler. I've seen people in videos doing that, and yeah, that is some pretty amazing stuff, especially for stuff like helmets and getting stuff like super smooth. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. So cool. You know what? I might just go through and do another benchy. Just do it in white. Automotive filler primer I use as well, usually after filling any holes with the plastic wood. Yeah, that man, you would have some, that would be super smooth. You would see like 0 layer lines, that's for sure. I'm just gonna slice another. No, I've got the right one there. Yep, I got the right one there. I think I'm gonna do another benchy. We'll just do it in the white with the change on that don't slow outer walls cooling whoozy thing. So I'll do one in white. What the hell? Slice her up. Of course, we won't wait for that one to get done. We'll just see how that turns out. Send it in. Yeah, here's what I was talking about. So remember how I was talking about how to, I think on the old Creality print, they used to have a thing where you could check and do calibration. But now it's not there, but it's always going to do the calibration. And we're saying something about calibration. No, it's not that. Settings. Zoom to mouse, professional, basic, blah, blah, blah. Nope, it's not under there. Calibration is on the left now. Left. G-code preview, blah. There's that. It's on the left. Print calibration is on the left in the window before sending print. click on Send Print. So if I send print, so there it is. On the left at Windows, so there's the device, current device, single, all plates, there, that's it. Enable CFS, PLA, there. Oh, print calibration. Yeah, the thing that says print calibration. You mean that thing right there with the print calibration? Yes, yes. Never claimed to be the sharpest spoon in the drawer. But the print calibration, yes. Imagine that. Where it says print calibration. I'll just do another benchy in white with that setting on the don't slow outer walls under cooling. Supposedly that'll be 16 minutes. Supposedly. Without the calibration, which would be nice. So, bingo. Reading and comprehension. Imagine that. What are the odds? Use your words. The settings on the printer determine what that means. Auto leveling is standard, so you can also check flow and PA calibration if you need it. Okay, cool. Yeah, and especially with that Z offset, that is something that I think. And what's interesting with the R3 bed and the micro Swiss, I've noticed that the layers have gotten better, but there's still a little bit of tiny waves, so I'll need to adjust that Z offset a little bit. But it's definitely a lot better now than what it was before. So, you know, that's kind of a bonus to all that. Excuse me. So yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So yeah, gotta enjoy it, gotta like it, gotta love it. Something to do. And then that fluid thing, man, I'd love to get those macros. For me, I found the PLA, the Z offset, 0.05, 0.75 is best. There we are. Yeah, 0.05 and 0.075 is best. Rest I use 0.1. Yeah, like when I was trying to do that first layer test, I found, and this was with all the stock stuff, but you get the waves in there and starting to play with the Z offset as it's printing under the machine and the system or whatever, the pro settings or whatever, so you can set the Z offset on the fly. Playing around with that. I didn't dig into my build plate, thank God. But that's why I have the down arrow, so it ended up, it was like 0.05 and 0. Whatever it was, 0.04 and 0 something. But it ended up, it alleviated a lot of the waviness, you know, of course, putting more distance between the nozzle and the bed, which, yeah, which makes me wonder why, when you do the calibration, and you do, you know, the one on the left and you have the one on the right, supposedly that is supposed to check for the first layer. So I'm just wondering why that is. There it says, when my bed was still really bad, I had to jog the offset during every first layer. Yeah, it's, and And it was funny because even on some of the Creality sites, like their own site, they have a forum and whatever, forum page or whatever. Not a lot of people, it's like, yeah, just adjust it on the fly. As you're printing your brim around the area, see how that looks and then adjust your Z offset. And it's like, well, if it's kind of doing the same thing all the time, where is the setting? And I was just kind of amazed that there wasn't a lot of people that were like, here's where you go to permanently set your Z offset for that filament, blah, blah, blah. I was just kind of amazed. I was like, it just doesn't seem right. I mean, I'm not a 3D expert by any means, but I worked in industrial electronics and cameras and fiber optic cables and the whole 9 yards, control panels, doors, all of that stuff. And so I know you can do a lot of stuff in electronics, but I was just like, 3D printing has gone so far, you got to be able to do that. I think the feedback for the auto leveling is not great for large print bed deformations. Now that I'm within 0.2 millimeter, I no longer need to do that. Yeah, it is definitely, because mine was 0.9696 with the stock bed, and that's after me leveling it. That was the best. I think I got it down, no, I take that back. That's what it was stock. And then when I leveled it, it ended up being 0.86 or 82 or something like that. So it was a little bit better. It was fine according to Creality, but getting the R3 bed, brought that down significantly. And of course, you get a significantly better first layer that I've noticed. So since then, I haven't had to adjust the Z offset. I probably could because there are some little waves in there, but as soon as that second layer goes on there, you don't even notice. You don't even see it. Wow, that's even worse than mine. Mine was at 0.7. Yeah, it was crazy. And the knobs were so locked in. I had to get a wrench. Of course, they put Loctite on them. But even doing the leveling, it was just like, really? Seriously? That's as good as we're going to get? But I think they have like a 1 or a 2 millimeter, as long as it's within 1 or 2 millimeters or something, it's supposed to be good, supposedly, if I believe what somebody had on their forum. But yeah, I think there's no reason for that. If you're going to do a 3D printer, you should be able to level it, even if you have to do the old school, paper nozzle, get that little bit of resistance. I mean, heck, you even do that with resin printers. So it's not like I was totally foreign to that, but yeah, it would be nice if they offered more ways in which customers could level out their beds. Yeah, Creality could be a really, I mean, they're a good company. Well, they are now anyway. They're better than what they were. But I think they just need to up their customer service, kind of look at it from a perspective of new person, doesn't know anything. If you school them, make them happy, make them learn, they'll stay with you for life. It's good enough for small prints like benchies, but if you have anything larger than 100 millimeters wide, it's terrible. Yeah, the stock was rough, especially when I tried to do, I think it was like a 3 or a 4, pretty good sized first layer print test on that, and it was like, ooh, that is just downright ugly. And then that's where adjusting the Z, it was just like, yeah, I'm not, this isn't good. They need to work on that. But eventually they'll get to it. And then the other thing it ends up is reducing of course, changing the Z offset is what a lot of people recommended, but then a lot of other people who have been around supposedly since 3D printing first started, is they talked about lowering the speed of that first layer down to like 30 millimeters a second, so that it really lays in there, it's nice and slow, nice and smooth, and you can fine tune according, your Z distance a little bit better when it's going slower. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But I need to do some sanding on my R3. a little bit because I want to get that down even further than where it's at now. So, yeah, I got 0.248. So, and that's with leveling it as best as I can. So, yeah, it definitely comes down to, got to pull out the sanding block. But some of the differences is just, it's not going to be much. You know, like 0.17 to 0.02. I mean, that's not a huge difference. So, but I want to try to get it down to like you said, get it down to where it's a little bit better. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, 30 millimeters a second. That's a 30-minute first layer on large parts. Oh yeah, yeah. But it would just be for a first layer test, just to really nail down that, you know, getting your Z offset and getting all that nailed down perfectly. But yeah, 30 millimeters a second, that would be a while. Imagine doing a 350 or a 300 by 300 first layer test. Yeah, that would take a while. That would be crazy. So yeah, good stuff. So we got the benchy going. I did another benchy in white. Let's take a look-see. I'm at a bumpy 0.5 total across the entire bed. 80%. I lost that. So yeah. We're about 13% in. So we'll see how that goes. Still just kind of amazing on what you can do with a 3D printer. The red nozzle looks sexier. Yeah, just a little bit. Definitely gives it a little bit of a flare. Not bad. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. In another 25 minutes. So yeah, we shall see. But eventually, since I got more painting I want to do, I always have more painting. I don't know. Everybody else have more painting to do. Piles of shame. Like that center. We got the top one, the center column. That. I got a bunch of stuff I got to paint. Of course, the Hulk, the Warhammer. This guy needs painted. I need to prime him up. Little Ivor guy, so I got him to do. And then I still got a number of stuff that I got to paint over there. So the problem with a 3D printer, you do more printing than painting, at least in my experience. It's just like crazy stuff. I like making stuff. That is pretty cool. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. So, kind of a cool little hobby. Also looking forward to getting another laser engraver because I got that rinky-dink little 5-watt one. So eventually I'm going to look into getting a better laser engraver. So we'll see how that goes. But, and looking at, for that, probably the Raleigh Lasermatic, that Galvo laser that they just put out, is probably going to come out, what did they say, this fall, because they're doing, they pushed back the release on that. So Looking forward to probably getting that one there. Haha, that's why I stuck to functional stuff. Mostly just spray paint, not too much detail painting. Yeah, probably should. But then I end up like, I'm gonna do a, what is it here? I have the notes for a paper towel holder. So that's functional. See, I'm trying to get there. Definitely want to see a review of the Galvomatic. Yeah, that thing looks hot. That is, and that, whatever few pennies I get from YouTube from the monetization, I think I ended up like $7 so far, maybe $12. And the buy me coffee or whatever, I've got some funds in there. That's going to go towards the Galvomatic. That thing looks hot. I mean, fast, Galvo, diode, 20. I want to get the big one, the was it 16 by 24 inch engrave and cut area. Yeah, it seems nice. Ooh, so nice. Yeah, but I think they pushed that back to later this year. So we'll see how that goes. I reached out to them. I reached out to the guy and said, hey, if you ever need somebody to do, and he's like, oh, we already got too many people. And I was like, damn it. Functional stuff I can really recommend. The Creality Hyper Polycarbonate prints amazing, is really tough. Oh, really? Yeah, the only thing I printed with is PLA, PETG, and I think I've got some ABS. I don't know, but I haven't printed with it yet. And what did I get that for? I can't even remember why I got that filament, so I don't know. I got it for something. We'll see. Hyperpolycarbonate. Getting stuff in Korea is kind of a bear sometimes. Thank God I can get stuff delivered from Amazon. Polycarbonate, Creality. So yeah, Amazon, I can end up getting some stuff from them. Let's see if I can move some stuff around here. ABS is also printing really nicely on that one. Yeah, the smell is rough. I've been kind of putting that off. Anything that's kind of like exotic and has a lot of VOCs, and because we didn't know if we were going to stay in this apartment, if we were going to move, we decided to stay. So now I can get that inline infinity fan and vent things out properly. I just got to figure out where I want to do that and some tubing and all that. But yeah, definitely don't need VOCs floating around the house. But let's see. Creality Hyper PC filaments, high heat resistance. Cool. ASA warps easily, PC prints pretty nice and doesn't smell. PETG is finicky. Yeah, I noticed that on some of the PETG stuff that I ended up doing. It was like, of course I was also really new to that. PC filament. Dun, 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 dun. It's not too bad. It's like 24 bucks a roll. That's carbon fiber, blah, blah. What is it? Creality Hyper PC. Crystal clear. I'll have to keep that in mind. Some nice looking stuff. Just looking through Amazon on all this. PLA carbon fiber. Matte finish. Hyper PLA CF. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Interesting stuff. I think I bought, Ferrith says, I think I bought mine on sale for 18 a roll. Try to stay away from filled filaments like carbon fiber. A little worried about the particles that rub off of that stuff during use. Keep that in mind. I don't know. I think as it is right now, of course that can all change. It's probably just doing PLA for stuff, and then because a lot of helmets, you know, cosplay stuff. I want to do one big cosplay armor thing as one of my bucket list items, and I want to do Warhammer. Of course, the helmet and all the good stuff, but then most of the armor pieces would be in EVA foam. But the problem is trying to get EVA foam here in Korea is like, I search for it and can't find it. I mean, I can find like yoga mats and stuff like that, but as far as like real cosplay EVA foam stuff, it's just like, it's weird. You'd think you'd be able to find it. Of course, I have to go to Amazon, and EVA foam for cosplay from the Foamery, Foam Armory or whatever on Amazon, and I'd have to order it from there. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'm a big guy, so you really need that large printer. Yeah, that's true. But, you know, it's amazing. But then so many people use like the Bambu with the 256Q build area and just cut up their armor and then put it together. And yeah, but the large printer, that will definitely be nice. That will definitely help in regard to that. But the one of the things I wanted to do, so yeah, it would definitely have to be EVA foam, and I have to buy it from Amazon. So, because I can't find it here in Korea, but the prices aren't that bad. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 millimeter from the EVA, the Foamery. I don't know if you all have seen that. But they've got a number of EVA foam stuff, which comes in some pretty good sizes. Ooh, yeah, look at that. 35 by 95, 59. So yeah, definitely this is going to be my go-to, and I am following them. So yeah. So mainly the main armor would be EVA foam, and then the helmets would be, of course, the PLA and stuff like that. Says, I printed a Centurion helmet for myself so far, came out really nice and in a single piece. Yeah, right? That was the other thing that I was waiting for, you know, deciding I wanted a large printer was to do stuff like that. Do a one print helmet and you're done. And then so many companies were coming out with larger printers, and of course, you know, ended up with the K2. throw that on a galvamatic and cut out the patterns for the armor. You read my mind from way back. Yeah. I almost got the Raleigh Lasermatic, their XW, which is just the regular diode laser that has a 16 by 24 build area. I almost got that, but then I heard rumors about, well, actually from the owner, that they were working on another laser, and that was the Galvamatic, and that's what they're working on now. So it's supposed to be out, I think, later this year in the fall. So, but yeah, Galvo, diode, same big build area, looking probably at $2,800 or something like that, $3,000. But yeah, being able to cut out EVA foam on that, just set it and forget it, boom, everything's done, that would be awesome. But there's another thing that I'm waiting for, and that is, excuse me, ArmorSmith. You've heard about the ArmorSmith program. It used to be Windows. It's been discontinued. Galactic Armory has, I guess they're resurrecting that type of program, and what they're ended up doing is they're making their own ArmorSmith type program to where you can take measurements of your body, and then you can get a good idea of how you need to scale, you know, your armor pieces and all that stuff, which definitely I would need to do. I mean, I could always take measurements of my head and do all that. I've got the calipers, you know, and do a helmet. That's absolutely cool. But when you're looking at the rest of the armor and trying to scale that, whether you're doing 3D printing or using EVA foam, it still comes down to, you know, I don't want to do a lot of trial and error. So I'm kind of waiting on Galactic Armory to get that finished. So since the Galvamatic doesn't come out until the end of the year, maybe the Galactic Armory, maybe that program will come out just before then, and then the universe will come together and I'll be able to do my cosplay. So we'll see how it goes. But then, let's see. That's pretty cool. Taking measurements for the helmet was a pain. I know I have a scanner for that. I know. And that was the other thing. I was like, well, I could just get a scanner, and then that's more money. It just seems like everything we want to do costs money. Imagine that. What are the odds? Galactic Armory. So there was the one I want to do is the Slayer. Is it the Slayer? Yeah, Eternal Slayer armor. That is the one I want to do. So I figured I'll do the Eternal Slayer armor first. So, and there, you know, for 30 bucks, that ain't bad. But look at that. I got the Creality Otter Light. It's really nice. Oh, okay. I'll have to take a look at that. The Otter Light. But yeah, that looks cool. I think that would be a good first cosplay build. I mean, that looks pretty cool. I like the paint scheme on that. You could do the damaged wear and all that. And then throw in a big, you know, chain gun or something. Yeah, that just looks so hot. That looks awesome. And of course, you could 3D print a lot of this stuff. But the EVA foam, I dare say you could print everything out on this. That would be wild. And the print parts cover most of you, so you don't need much extra. Yeah, that's another reason why I was looking at that, because you got the separate parts, you know, the gloves, forearms, shoulder pads. You could really just end it up, and then, you know, even if you had to cut it in half, I'm not sure how the parts look, but even if you had to, join them with like Velcro or, nylon webbing or whatever to get it to hang right. But yeah, I think that's gonna look really, really cool. Little blade on the forearm there. Yeah. That's the first one I'm gonna do. And it comes with a helmet too. So, yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. The Eternal Slayer. And I might end up just getting that and then print the helmet and see. The only thing I don't have with the helmet would be the visor. As you take a look at the helmet, that will be an interesting thing to do. Yeah, their Hell Driver stuff looks pretty hot too. So kind of that, the Hell Drivers is good. Eternal Slayer looks good. Unfortunately, Galactic Armory got a cease and desist from Games Workshop. So they had a last minute, hey, they're dumping all their stuff before. And so I got in on that. I got on their Patreon, so I downloaded all of the Warhammer stuff on that, which kind of makes me mad at Games Workshop. That's kind of a dick move of what they did. That was just, I don't agree with that at all. I understand intellectual property and stuff like that. I totally get it. But imagine Star Wars. I grew up with Star Wars. I remember in 1977, I saw the first Star Wars movie. There was a line, and we went and saw it, and that was the most incredible movie that I had ever seen. And then, of course, through the years, it ends up more Star Wars movies. Some were better than others. But the fan art, the fan builds, and then, of course, they didn't have cosplay back then, but you had people writing stories, Star Wars, themed stories, and the whole 9 yards, made this whole lore for Star Wars. And I couldn't imagine that enabled Star Wars to grow leaps and bounds. And the fan base was just incredible. Unfortunately, though, Games Workshop is like, oh, boom, no, you can't do that. We're going to sue you. And they're just suing all of these fan art creators. And yeah, are they making money? Yeah, they are. But the thing is those fan artists and cosplay and people like Galactic Armory and all the other ones, it ends up, it's like, you know what, they are growing the universe for you, and you don't have to pay them. And they're getting compensated because they're making these things and they're selling them. I get the IP stuff, but imagine if Star Wars did that, or Star Trek. That would just be insane. Thinking that if somebody who made Star Wars stuff, suddenly the company says, oh, we're going to sue you if you, here's a cease and desist, and if you don't, we're going to sue you into oblivion. That would destroy the universe. So when Games Workshop started doing that, and then as soon as, I don't know if you've seen the video for that, but as soon as Galactic Armory got that cease and desist, they did their little Patreon thing. Hey, this is the last time we're going to have this. So I joined the Patreon, got that. Unfortunately, they don't have the Eternal Slayer armor in their Patreon, at least yet. It wasn't in the welcome packet and the stuff so far, so we'll see how that goes. But so I was able to download all that. But yeah, and then as soon as they did the cease and desist for Galactic Armory, Games Workshop comes out with a helmet. Of course, it's not as good as what Galactic Armory did, but they start selling that, and it's just like, that's kind of a dick move, in my opinion. Really, yes, you own the intellectual property, but all of these people, you're getting free advertising, and now you just want all your, these are my toys, my sandbox. If you don't like it, get out. There's going to be a lot of people that don't like that, so we'll see how that goes. It says you can probably make the visor on your resin printer with clear resin. That's true. That is true. I haven't done clear resin yet on there. That visor, or I could try to get some plastic sheeting. Yeah, probably the visor would be better on resin printed, if I could get that to come out really clean. Or you could always just kind of do some plastic or whatever sheet, heat gun, go to town or whatever. We'll see how that goes. Eventually, we'll get there. Those are minor details. But yeah, that Eternal Slayer armor looks hot. I like that. You're just upsetting your own following. I don't think it's worth it, but the shareholders probably agree. Yeah, that's true. It's about money. But thankfully, imagine if Star Wars did that. People would just go insane. They would just crucify Star Wars if they did that. It's bad enough what happened to Star Wars as it is now, but yeah, they got shareholders but I think they're missing the mark. They're looking at the dot and they're not seeing the whole sentence. They're not looking at the whole paragraph. They're not looking at the whole page, the big picture, to where, it's free advertising. Every single person out there that does cosplay stuff is giving free advertising for Games Workshop, and they don't have to pay them a thing. So if somebody makes a helmet or this or, armor or whatever, yeah, you're losing a little bit of money, but you're going to have people that are going to want Games Workshop helmets, and they will pay big money for that. But then you have other people that don't care about, whether it's a name brand helmet, if it's Galactic Armory or whatever, before this whole cease and desist thing, and that really brought a ton of people into Games Workshop, into Warhammer. So, that's what kind of got me into Warhammer, was doing the resin printing thing, because the Warhammer stuff is just insanely expensive. It is absolutely insane on how much it costs. So I think Warhammer, Games Workshop, could do a lot better if they sold authorized STLs. They need to jump on the bandwagon. And yeah, you could probably charge more because it's an authorized Games Workshop STL for resin printing, FDM printing, or whatever it is. Imagine how much they could make off of that. Therapist says, I personally believe they should have partnered up with Galactic Armory and really fed them the good IP stuff for a cut. I totally agree. You could pick out a number of hobbyists that do that stuff, Galactic Armory that do that. They could partner up with that, and then the reach that Galactic Armory has is huge, along with some other big players, and imagine how much more they could get. But Games Workshop is stuck into like the 1990s marketing, this is ours, we're not going to let anybody play with it, blah, blah, blah. They don't understand how, they're shooting themselves in the foot, I think. And it'll, then to make up for any losses, they can always just charge more for their product. So they won't see the loss. They don't see it as a loss. They won't see it as, let's do what's best for the company. They just concentrated on the dot. So, I don't know. Hey, our bench is done. Let's go check our bench. I didn't think we'd be doing this. In case anybody's wondering, it's almost 5 o'clock in the evening here in Korea. So, there it is. We finished it up. 34 minutes. Congratulations, 11 grams. And no more calibration. Let's save some time. That looks good. Ding. So now, what do we end up saying? See if I can do this without dropping it. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Oh, wait a second. Look in the wheelhouse. You've got some hole action there, but not on the outside. The outside looks really nice. But on the inside, look at that. But still, of course, you're going to see every layer line with the white. And a little bit of on that bow line there. Tiny bit of stringing, but it's a lot better on these outer edges to where it was messed up before. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I wonder how does that look on the other one? Did we even get that on the other one? I think we did. Yeah, we did. Look at that. But it was, look at how much more it was on the outside. We don't have that at all now. But there it is, clear as day, inside the wheelhouse. How about the first one? This was the first benchy. Does it have any on the wheelhouse? Yep. We even get it on there, you can see it. Yeah. Huh. But this one definitely looks a lot better. So the settings that you recommended did good on, look at that. Nice, nice, nice. So much better. Especially on the outsides there. So much cleaner. Awesome. Thank you. Some good settings. Barrett, this is the man. I dare say you get 2 stars for the day. Okay, well, I think that's about it. That's some very good information. Thank you, appreciate that, all of that stuff. Yeah, that's weird that that was on the inside. You can try upping your setting or increase the number of top layers to 5. That's my default. That's true. And this is another benchy, is it? Yeah, this is another one in gray when I did the first gray test. But it had a tiny bit, there's a tiny bit of that. Like right along in there, there's a couple of course it's such a weird, there's a little bit in there to where it didn't connect up with the square here. So you got a little bit there. You see that there? I don't know, focus, damn it, focus, Jim. But yeah, still got those little holes and stuff, but on that white one, it definitely looks a hell of a lot better. We've still got the holes in the wheelhouse there. But nice, nice, I like it. Mikey likes it. So that works out good. Upping the setting or increase the number of top layers. Yeah, I might try to increase the top layer. No ironing, Arachne, so I did have that. Precision, blah, 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 blah. Top shell layers, I think that's what you were talking about. Enjoy your evening. It's definitely a rabbit hole. I know, right? Definitely a rabbit hole. I'm still finding better settings after 900 hours of printing. I don't think it stops. I don't think it stops. So yeah, yeah, top shell layers set to 4 by default. The bottom shell layers is 3, so yeah, I could put that. So I could add another top shell layer, but I don't know. I think we're good enough. We're good enough where we're at, but I'll just keep that in mind. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Doing some printing stuff and going down the rabbit hole. Mr. Therapist, thank you, sir, so much for the video and the information. Some good stuff, So gotta love it, gotta love it. Love the 3D printing stuff and the painting stuff. It's almost like, well, I won't say it. I won't curse myself. I just need to prioritize my time between printing and painting. Ferrith says, bottom layers, I have 3 as well. Yeah, the bottom layers I'm not too concerned about. You know, even when my layers were messed up, it ends up, the second layer would clean it up and everything was good after that. But yeah, it's nice to be able to get cleaner first layer. So yeah. Well, I think we're going to call this done. The battery on my phone says low battery warning, and I'm getting hungry, so we're going to leave it at that. So anyway, with that being said, good stuff. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Mr. Therapist, for the video. Namaste, all of that good stuff comes hamnida. And yeah, always fun doing the 3D printing stuff. So yeah, that's it. Steve, retired hobby tech guy here in Korea, American expat, having fun printing and doing kind of cool stuff. We'll see you on the next video. All right, peace. Oh, and I'll post that stuff later for this thing once I update it. All right, we'll see you. Peace. All righty, we're done. We're done.